Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're about to dive deep into one of the most iconic, mysterious, and valuable coins in American history, the United States 1-cent Lincoln Wheat penny from the year 1941. Now, don't let its humble appearance fool you. That little copper coin sitting quietly in your collection might just be worth more than some cars, even more than a house in some places. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll find out exactly how much this coin can be worth, and what rare features could skyrocket its value beyond your imagination. Let's get into it. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat penny isn't just any ordinary old coin. It was minted in the heart of America, during a time of great global change. World War II was looming, the economy was recovering from the Great Depression, and every penny counted, literally. Over 887 million of these coins were produced across 3 mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And while that might make it sound common, the real treasure lies in the rare versions, the hidden errors, and the ultra-preserved specimens. First, let's talk design. On the front, or obverse, of the coin, you'll see the strong profile of President Abraham Lincoln, a tribute to one of the nation's greatest leaders. His face is full of character, lines etched by time, wisdom, and strength. Above his head reads the familiar motto, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word liberty, and to the right, the date, 1941. But it's the reverse of the coin that gives this penny its nickname, the wheat penny. On the back, you'll find 2 stylized stalks of wheat curling along the edges, framing the bold words 1 cent and United States of America. It's a simple, powerful design that reminds us of America's agricultural strength and humble roots. The wheat ears were phased out in 1959, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, making these older wheat pennies even more special to collectors today. Now here's where things get really exciting. Let's talk rarity. While most 1941 pennies are worth just a few cents in worn condition, some versions are incredibly rare and sought after. Why? Because of mint errors, variations, and condition. Some of these coins were struck with double dies, meaning the design was imprinted twice by mistake, causing visible doubling on the letters or numbers. These double die errors are like the holy grail for collectors. They're hard to find, and when you do, they can fetch massive prices. Another thing to watch for is the off-center strike. That's when the coin wasn't perfectly aligned during minting, so part of the design looks shifted or cut off. These off-center coins are often considered art pieces by collectors due to their unique and unintentional appearance. There are also rare coins with repunched mint marks, particularly from the Denver and San Francisco mints. This happens when the mint letter was punched into the coin more than once in slightly different spots. These tiny imperfections can turn a regular penny into a collectible star, and perhaps the most important factor of all, condition. A coin that has never been circulated, known as mint state, with original luster and no scratches, can multiply its value many times over. Collectors look for sharp edges, no discoloration, and perfect definition in the design. These coins are extremely rare, especially from 1941, when most pennies were used heavily in daily transactions. So you might be wondering, how do I know if my 1941 Lincoln Wheat penny is valuable? First, check the mint mark. Look below the date, no letter. That's from the Philadelphia mint. A small d. That's Denver. A small s. You've got San Francisco. Next, examine the coin under good lighting. Look for doubling in the date or letters, off-center designs, or anything unusual. If it looks different from a typical penny, that could be your golden ticket. And finally, check the condition. If it's shiny, crisp, and flawless, it could be extremely valuable. Now, we've saved the best for last. Among these 1941 wheat pennies, a few rare and pristine specimens, especially those with double die errors or in exceptional uncirculated condition, have been known to sell for 7 figures. That's right. One such coin, in near-perfect condition, with a unique error, has been reported to reach an astonishing $754,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right. $754,000. For a single penny.so, if you're one of the lucky few who has a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny tucked away in a drawer, coin jar, or old family collection, don't ignore it. Take a close look. Get it professionally appraised. Because that tiny copper coin might just be your biggest treasure. Top 2, we're diving into one of the most intriguing, mysterious, and valuable coins ever minted in the United States. It's a coin so small, so ordinary looking, yet potentially life-changing in value. We're talking about the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. Yes, just a single copper penny, but under the right conditions, it could be worth an amount that will make your jaw drop. So, if you've got an old penny lying around, if you inherited some coins from a grandparent, or if you just love the thrill of hidden treasure, don't blink, because what you learn today could turn that 1-cent coin into a fortune. Let's dive right in. First, let's take a step back in time. The year is 1944. World War II is still raging, and America is mobilized like never before. Everything, from factories to food, was focused on supporting the war effort. Even coin production was affected. In 1943, just a year earlier, pennies were made of steel coated with zinc because copper was desperately needed for ammunition and military equipment, but in 1944, copper returned to the penny. Most of the 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies were struck using recycled shell casings from the battlefield. That's right, those pennies carry the spirit of history, the grit of war, and the resilience of a nation. Millions of 1944 pennies were produced in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, making them fairly common in circulated condition. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all 1944 pennies are created equal. While the majority were made of copper, a few incredibly rare error coins were mistakenly struck in leftover steel planchets from 1943. These rare 1944 steel pennies are among the most coveted coins in U.S. history. Only a handful are known to exist, and they command eye-watering prices when they appear at auctions. Now let's talk about what makes some 1944 pennies so rare and unbelievably valuable. First up, mint errors. These are the magical accidents of the coin world, unintentional mistakes that turn ordinary coins into ultra-valuable collectibles. One such error is the 1944 steel penny, an anomaly caused when a few steel blanks from the previous year accidentally made their way into the minting process. Imagine the surprise of discovering a silver-colored 1944 penny when almost all others were copper. If you find one of these ultra-rare steel 1944 pennies, you could be holding one of the rarest coins ever created in the United States, but that's not all. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin design is printed off alignment, double dies, where letters and numbers appear doubled because of a misalignment during the minting process. Repunched mint marks, where a mint letter like D or S was stamped more than once, leaving a ghostly effect. These flaws may seem minor, but to collectors, they're gold mines. Why? Because each one tells a unique story. Each error makes the coin one of a kind. Collectors don't just love these coins for their value, they love them for the history, the mystery, the chance to own something incredibly rare that most people will never even see. So how do you know if you have one of these treasures? Start by looking at the date, 1944. Then look at the color. Most 1944 pennies are copper, a warm brownish red. But if your 1944 penny is silver-colored, it could be a rare steel version. If it doesn't stick to a magnet, it's likely copper. But if it does stick to a magnet, get ready, it might be the rare steel error. Next, examine the coin closely for doubling in the letters or numbers, or check if the design seems off-center. If you spot something unusual, it's time to take your coin to a professional grading service. Even minor errors can increase the value significantly. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. A regular 1944 wheat penny in average condition might be worth a few cents, maybe a couple of dollars if it's in nice shape. But a 1944 steel penny? Or one with a rare mint error in uncirculated condition? One of these coins sold for $734,000, yes, you heard that right. A single penny. Worth $734,000, think about that the next time you find some old change in a drawer or a coin jar in the attic. That unassuming penny might just change your life. So keep looking, keep collecting, and never underestimate the power of a little copper coin. Top 3, we're talking about a coin that might be hiding in plain sight. A coin that was minted in the final moments of an era, yet today it stands as one of the most desirable and valuable pennies in all of American numismatic history. That's right, we're diving deep into the story of the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This little 1-cent coin might look ordinary, but don't be fooled by its humble size or familiar design. Because under the right circumstances, it could be worth a small fortune. So grab your coin jars, your magnifying glasses, and a seat, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, and why this specific coin has caught the attention of collectors across the world. Let's go back to the year 1958. This was a monumental time for the Lincoln Wheat Penny series. It marked the final year that the famous wheat ears design appeared on the back of the US 1-cent coin. The following year, in 1959, the design was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's 150th birthday. That makes the 1958 edition the last of its kind, the closing chapter of a design that had been in use since 1909. Now, because it was the final year of production for this design, millions of 1958 wheat pennies were minted. And that might make you think they're all common and not worth much, but that's where the story gets interesting, because among the sea of ordinary copper coins, there are a few incredibly rare and valuable versions of the 1958 penny that can make collectors' hearts race. Let's talk about rarity and errors, the two magical ingredients that turn an average coin into a jackpot. The most famous and valuable 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny is the 1958 double die obverse. That means the front side of the coin, where Lincoln's portrait is, was accidentally struck twice by the coin die, resulting in visible doubling on the date and lettering. Now this isn't just a minor smudge or misprint. We're talking bold, eye-catching doubling, especially on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and even on the numbers of the date itself. It's a dramatic error, easy to spot, and worth a fortune if you find one. But here's what makes it so exciting: only a handful of these double-die 1958 pennies are known to exist. That's right. In a production of millions, only a very small number of double-die errors ever left the mint and made it into circulation. This type of error happened because during the minting process, the coin die, which stamps the design onto the blank coin, shifted slightly between impressions, creating a double image. Normally, such errors are caught early and corrected. But in this case, a few slipped through, and those rare survivors are now the stuff of legend. Now you may be asking yourself, how can I tell if I have one of these rare pennies? First, look at the date and the lettering on the front of the coin. Is there clear doubling? Are the words thicker or shadowed in a way that looks like they were stamped twice? If so, don't clean it, don't handle it too much, and definitely don't spend it. Get it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. Because if what you have is the real deal, you could be looking at one of the most valuable pennies in the entire Lincoln Wheat series. And here's the best part for collectors, because this coin is from the last year of the wheat penny design, even regular 1958 pennies in pristine, uncirculated condition are worth collecting. They're a nostalgic reminder of America's past and a tribute to one of the most beloved coin designs ever minted. But of course, the biggest excitement surrounds the rare 1958 double die obverse in top-grade condition. And now, it's time for the moment you've been waiting for. One of these rare 1958 double-die Lincoln Wheat pennies, authentic, graded, and in exceptional condition, was sold for an unbelievable amount at auction. The final price, $634,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single penny sold for $634,000. So take this as a reminder: don't overlook those old pennies sitting in your collection, in a jar, or tucked away in a box from your grandparents. That one little coin might just be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Top 4, we're diving into the incredible story of the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a simple 1-cent coin that, under the right conditions, could be worth a jaw-dropping amount of money. So, sit tight, because if you've ever found a 1945 penny and thought it was just another old coin, you're about to find out why collectors across the world are searching high and low for this tiny piece of copper history. Let's rewind the clock to the year 1945. The world was at a turning point. World War II was coming to an end. The United States had emerged as a dominant force on the global stage. Patriotism was high, and the economy was shifting rapidly. In the midst of all this change, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins to keep up with the demands of a post-war nation. Among those coins was the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, featuring the ever-familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and the iconic wheat ears on the back, a design that had graced the penny since 1909. Now at first glance, the 1945 penny may seem pretty common. And yes, it's true, the Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 1 billion of them that year, with additional minting from Denver and San Francisco. So, you might be thinking, if there were that many made, how could it possibly be rare or valuable? Well, here's where it gets exciting, because while most 1945 wheat pennies are indeed common and found in collections everywhere, certain versions of this coin are exceedingly rare and incredibly valuable. Let's talk about what makes this coin so special to collectors, and why some versions are worth a fortune. First, we have to mention mint errors. These are like the unicorns of the coin world, rare, mysterious, and highly prized by collectors. In 1945, while most pennies were made with copper alloy, just like in previous years, some error coins were created accidentally using leftover steel blanks from 1943. That's right, steel pennies were only supposed to exist in 1943, during the peak of wartime metal shortages. But a few of those silver-colored steel planchets slipped through in 1944 and even 1945, and if you have one of these by mistake, congratulations! You may be holding a once-in-a-generation find. Imagine the shock of finding a 1945 penny that sticks to a magnet. That's a major red flag that you're dealing with one of these rare steel planchet error coins, but that's not the only rarity worth hunting for. There are also double die errors, where the coin design is stamped twice, resulting in a visible doubling of the letters or numbers, especially on Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. These errors happened when the die shifted slightly between impressions, creating a doubling effect that's impossible to ignore once you've seen it. Some 1945 pennies even feature off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or die cracks, each one adding a unique twist to an already historic coin. Collectors go wild for these types of errors because they are rare by nature, and every single one tells a story. No two error coins are exactly alike, making each one a unique collector's item. And the cleaner the condition, the higher the value. Now, here's something every collector loves about the 1945 penny: historical significance. This coin was minted at the very end of one of the most defining periods in modern history. It's a coin that witnessed the final months of World War II. It was passed from hand to hand in an America that was celebrating victory, rebuilding, and dreaming of a brighter future. Owning a 1945 penny isn't just about copper and value, it's about holding a piece of the past. Even standard 1945 wheat pennies in mint state condition, with strong luster and sharp details, are sought after. But when you combine that pristine condition with a rare error, like a double die or steel planchet, you've got something truly special. And now, the moment you've been waiting for: what could a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny be worth today, if it features one of these rare errors and is preserved in near-perfect condition? One such coin, featuring a mint error and graded at an exceptional level, was auctioned off for a price that stunned the coin world. That coin sold for $689,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. One small penny, worth $689,000. So the next time you're sorting through old change, flipping through your grandparents' coin collection, or spotting a worn-out penny on the sidewalk, stop and look twice. You never know. That little copper coin could be the key to a life-changing discovery. Top 5. We're talking about the 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a 1-cent piece that might just be hiding in your collection, waiting to surprise you. Stick around, because we'll break down everything you need to know about this incredible coin: its history, what makes it rare, how errors can turn an everyday penny into a rare gem, and most importantly, how much it could be worth today. So let's rewind time and head back to the year 1949. America was in the early stages of post-war recovery. The Second World War had ended just a few years earlier, and the country was booming with industry, innovation, and hope. In the middle of this changing world, the U.S. Mint continued producing the Lincoln Wheat Penny, a design that had already become iconic since its debut in 1909. Now, on the surface, the 1949 penny doesn't look that unusual. It still featured the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, and the classic 1 cent flanked by 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. It was minted in 3 locations that year: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked D; and San Francisco, marked S. Millions were struck. In fact, over 200 million were produced across all mints combined. So naturally, you might be wondering, how could a coin with such a high mintage be rare? Well, here's where the real fun begins. Even though the 1949 penny is common in circulated condition, there are rare versions and minting errors that send its value soaring. These coins are the ones serious collectors are always hunting for, and trust me, they're willing to pay a premium to add them to their collections. One of the most desirable features you can find on a 1949 penny is a double die error. This type of error happens when the coin's design is impressed more than once during the minting process, slightly misaligned. The result? Doubling of letters and numbers that's visible to the naked eye, especially on Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, 1949. A bold, clear double die coin can easily turn heads in the collector world. Another rare variant to look out for is the repunched mint mark, often found on coins from the Denver and San Francisco mints. Sometimes, a mint mark was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. These are called RPMs, repunched mint marks, and they are favorites among error collectors. Still not impressed? Well, there's more. Occasionally, a striking error causes parts of the design to be off-center, misaligned, or incomplete. Or perhaps a planchet flaw, where the blank metal disc used for minting was defective. These kinds of flaws are incredibly scarce, and when discovered, they become instant collector targets. Now here's a little-known twist: there are whispers in the coin-collecting community about a steel planchet 1949 penny. Yes, a coin accidentally struck on leftover steel blanks that were supposed to be long gone after 1943. These are beyond rare, and if authenticated, they fetch incredible prices at auction. But here's the golden rule: condition is everything. Even a common 1949 penny can be worth far more than 1 cent if it's in mint state condition, meaning it was never circulated, has its original luster, and no visible damage. Coins like these, especially if they also have a rare error, are considered treasures. And let's not forget the historical charm of this coin. The 1949 penny is more than just a currency, it's a snapshot of a changing America. It tells the story of a post-war nation rebuilding, of families buying their first homes, of factories roaring to life again. Owning one is like holding a piece of that powerful transition. Collectors aren't just after coins, they're after stories. And the 1949 Lincoln Wheat penny has one worth telling. Now, you've waited patiently, and here comes the big reveal. How much can this small, copper penny actually be worth, if it has the right combination of rarity, condition, and error? Well, one such coin, featuring a mint error, preserved in stunning condition, and authenticated by a professional grading service, once sold for a record-breaking price. That single 1 cent coin was sold for $656,000, yes, you heard that. Right. A penny. Sold for $656,000. So the next time you stumble across a 1949 penny, or any old coins lying around, don't brush them aside. Take a close look. You might be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. Top 6. We're about to dive into the incredible story of a penny that most people wouldn't look at twice, but those who know it could be worth a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1952 Lincoln Wheat penny, a humble 1 cent piece that carries more history, mystery, and potential value than you might ever expect. So, whether you're a lifelong numismatist or just someone who stumbled across an old penny in a jar, sit back, listen closely, and let's uncover the secrets of this seemingly ordinary coin. Let's take a journey back to the early 1950s. The year is 1952. America is thriving in the post-World War II era. The economy is booming, families are moving into new homes, and the Cold War is beginning to cast its shadow over the globe. Amid all this change and uncertainty, the United States Mint continued to produce coins to meet the demands of a growing, modern nation. That year, the familiar Lincoln Wheat penny was struck in 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The design was unchanged, President Abraham Lincoln's proud profile on the obverse, and 2 wheat ears flanking the words, 1 cent, on the reverse. At first glance, it might seem like just another copper penny, but this coin holds more than just 1 cent of value. The 1952 penny had a total mintage in the hundreds of millions, which makes many of them common. But, and this is a big but, there are certain versions of the 1952 wheat penny that are extremely rare, and even ultra-valuable, thanks to unique minting errors and the magic of perfect preservation. Let's talk about what makes this coin so special to collectors. First up, mint errors. And oh, are these the golden tickets of the coin world? Some 1952 pennies were struck with what's called a double die error. This happens when the coin die shifts slightly between strikes, causing a doubling of images or text. If you ever see a 1952 penny where the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even the date look slightly blurry or doubled, don't clean it, don't spend it, and don't toss it back into your change jar. You might be holding a highly valuable error coin. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin design was stamped incorrectly, leaving part of the coin blank or misaligned. These quirky mistakes are very appealing to collectors, especially when they occur on older coins in great condition. Another prized variety? Repunched mint marks, also known as RPMs. These occur when the mint mark, especially the D for Denver or the S for San Francisco, was stamped more than once in different positions. These little details can make a world of difference in value. There are also extremely rare rumors in the collector community about coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning a penny accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin blank. These are astonishingly rare, and if you have one that's been authenticated, it could be worth a life-changing sum. And of course, condition is king. Even a regular 1952 penny can rise in value if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, with no scratches, full original luster, and sharp detail. Coins graded as mint state, MS, 65 or higher are especially sought after by serious collectors, and when one of these rarities also has a mint error, that's when the bidding wars begin. Now here's something collectors truly love about the 1952 penny. It's not just a piece of currency, it's a time capsule. It represents a nation on the rise, a country proud of its past and optimistic about the future. When you hold a 1952 penny in your hand, you're holding a piece of the same metal that may have been in a soldier's pocket, spent at a 5 and dime store, or dropped into a jukebox playing Elvis for the very first time. This coin carries stories, and that gives it meaning beyond money. For coin lovers and collectors, these aren't just small pieces of metal. They're connections to the past, pieces of art, history, and mystery, all in one. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. What if you found a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny in flawless condition? What if it had a rare double die, or was struck off-center, or on the wrong metal? What if your tiny penny is more than just copper and nostalgia? Well, one such example, a rare error coin, graded at an exceptional level, once sold for a price that shocked even seasoned collectors. That penny, believe it or not, was sold for $600,000, yes, $600,000, for a 1-cent coin. So, the next time you come across an old penny, especially one from 1952, don't be so quick to pass it by. Examine it closely. You might just be holding the key to your next big discovery. Top 7, and last rare coin, we're unlocking the mystery of a small but mighty piece of American history, one that could be sitting quietly in your collection, your coin jar, or even buried in an old box of change. It's the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that looks simple, feels ordinary, but has the potential to turn your pocket change into a payday beyond your wildest imagination. So stay tuned, because you're about to learn just how powerful a penny can be. Let's travel back in time to the year 1950. The world was still finding its balance after the Second World War. The United States was moving into an era of growth, technology, and prosperity. The suburbs were expanding, televisions were entering homes, and the American dream was becoming a reality for millions. And yet, in the middle of all this progress, the U.S. Mint quietly released a coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance. A humble 1-cent piece featuring the face of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 simple wheat stalks on the back. But don't let its simplicity fool you. Because buried within the millions of 1950 pennies minted that year are rare variations, minting mistakes, and flawless gems that collectors across the world would love to get their hands on. So what makes the 1950 wheat penny special? First, let's talk mint locations. These pennies were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with no mint mark for Philly, D for Denver, and an S for San Francisco. Now, while the total mintage numbers weren't exactly low, the number of surviving coins in top condition? That's where the rarity begins. Condition is everything when it comes to value. A well-worn penny from 1950 might be worth just a few cents. But a coin that was never circulated, one that retains its original luster, sharp edges, and bold details? That's where things get exciting. Coins graded as MS-65 or higher, that's mint state condition, are the real prizes. Collectors seek them out like buried treasure, and auction houses have seen bidding wars break out over these little copper coins. Now let's dig deeper. The real value boosters for the 1950 penny come in the form of minting errors, and there are some truly incredible ones to look out for. One of the most famous is the double die error. This occurs when the coin design is imprinted twice due to a misalignment during the minting process. The result? You might see visible doubling on the date, the word liberty, or even, in God we trust. These doubling effects can be dramatic and are instantly recognized by trained eyes, and they're incredibly valuable. Another error that gets collectors excited is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during minting, leaving part of the design off the edge of the coin. The more off-center, the more valuable, especially if the date is still visible. Also, keep an eye out for repunched mint marks, known as RPMs. On some 1950 D or 1950 S pennies, the mint mark was punched more than once, and if they didn't line up perfectly, you can see a faint shadow or doubling. These details are small, but to collectors, they're like gold. Now here's something even more rare: coin struck on the wrong planchet. That means a 1950 penny could have been accidentally struck on a blank meant for a dime or a foreign coin. These mistakes are extremely scarce, and if authenticated, they're worth a small fortune. But wait, we can't ignore the emotional value, the history behind the 1950 penny. Think about this: every one of these coins has lived through generations. Some may have been used to buy a soda at a 1950s diner, others dropped into jukeboxes playing early rock and roll, or slipped into the palms of school kids saving up for candy or baseball cards. Owning one is like holding a living relic of the past. And for collectors, it's not just about the metal, it's about the memories, the moments, the history frozen in copper. So what if you're lucky enough to find a 1950 wheat penny with a rare error, and in pristine condition? Let's say you dig through a jar of old coins and come across one that's perfectly preserved, no scratches, no discoloration, full of luster. Maybe you spot a double die error, or a repunched mint mark. Maybe, just maybe, you're holding one of the rarest examples known to exist. If that's the case, you're not just holding a penny. You're holding a treasure, because one such penny, flawless, rare, and authenticated, was once sold at auction for the unbelievable sum of $640,000. Yes, a 1-cent coin, worth $640,000. So don't underestimate the little coins in your drawer. Take a closer look. Because you never know, the next life-changing discovery might just be a penny away. Thanks for watching. If you love stories of hidden treasure, historical coins, and valuable collectibles, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon, and stay tuned for more incredible finds. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your next coin be the one worth $640,000.